Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Nikki Bostwick Unfiltered podcast. Today's guest is Lindsey Wilson. She's the founder of OWL. And is it OWL Venice or just OWL?
Yeah, I think we could go by either, but
Okay.
it's all of it.
She's the founder of OWL and she's the OG broth lady, basically. I mean, you were doing broth cleanses so long ago. Like I feel like a decade ago. When did you start OWL?
It was 9 years ago about.
Yeah, and
So,
I remember a friend of mine. So before we met, because we met I don't know when we met, maybe like a few years after you launched, you had already had your Abbott Kinney's shop. And
okay.
um, but I remember when a friend of mine went on your cleanse, and we're in Orange County, so she was out of town or something, and so her friend and I picked up her cleanse for her. Like this is so long ago, and that's kind of like I think
Picked up it up at the shop at that point, or was it like on the side of my house?
I think it was like on the side of your house. Yeah. Like it was OG like days when you originally had started. And I love stuff like that. I love learning about brands early on and seeing the founders and knowing just like how legit it is. I love your products. And I just feel like I love the way you've scaled because you've stayed so true to what you guys do, and your packaging, like everything is just so I just makes me feel happy when I see it. So I can't wait to hear. I don't remember, like we talked a lot about partnerships and whatnot, but I want to, yeah, like go back to when you started OWL and why, and how it's been to grow when more and more people are learning about broth and incorporating it, and more places have it. But just I think with anything, being one of the first to share about it, and then being in a market that is more saturated now, but with products that are not in the refrigerated iron aisle necessarily, like shelf stable broths, like all the things that come along with popularity of something, and how there's just a lot of, you know, product that's not ideal, but there's product that meets everyone where they're at, I believe, and gets people into the market. But I'm curious, like, how it is for you now. So tell us before, like, the process of starting it and where you're at now.
Yeah, so I really started OWL to heal my own digestive issues. I was struggling with gut issues, which for me looked like um, a lot of sickness, a really weakened immune system. I was getting constant sinus infections, every cold and flu, and I was young, healthy, eating healthy, but um, just discovered the root of my issues was going on in my gut. So I started researching all sorts of gut healing protocols, got really into cooking for myself. And through my research, I read about bone broth and how bone broth was so good for healing the gut. Bone broth essentially mimics the mucus lining in the gut. So it's great for repairing any damage to the gut. And it's also just a very bioavailable way to receive nutrients. So, for anybody that is struggling with gut issues, a lot of times they don't have the enzymes, and their microbiome isn't able to really properly break down the food and receive nutrients from it. So, bone broth is just a great way to get that and also start to repair the gut. So, anyways, I couldn't find any broth on the market that didn't have garlic and onions, which was two of the big things that I was reading about that said to avoid because they can be irritating to the gut. In Ayurveda, garlic and onions are considered a medicine, so not to be consumed so regularly. So after searching and not being able to find it, I started making my own. The first time I like almost burnt my house down. Thought about not doing it again, did it again, and I basically started to drink bone broth every night after dinner in place of my nightly like cocktail or cup of ice cream. And it was just like what I did when I started getting like the late night cravings and munchies. And after a couple months of consistently doing that, I started to really experience a lot of profound transformation. So I started feeling more lubrication in my gut, more lubrication in my joints. My skin felt more moisturized. My skin was clearing up. I started losing a lot of weight. Like inflammation was just coming off. And, after a few months, I started to really feel a lot of difference in my digestion. And like through doing that, didn't even realize how bad I felt prior to doing all of this. And that kind of really inspired me to realize like, wow, the better I feel, the better I am as a human. Like I'm kinder, I'm more open to people, I'm like able to give more when I feel better. And that's really what inspired me to start sharing it with other people. And I had like my girlfriends were interested because they saw that I was losing weight and got interested. And then it was really cool because the more I shared about it, the more I realized how many other people were dealing with gut issues, how many people were looking for something like this. And it was just very like organic in the beginning how it all happened because I didn't really intend to start a business.
I love that. I love when it's organic and it just gets shared that way. And then at what point did you start to, like, the business at that point was just the broths, or at what point did you start to incorporate the other stuff?
So after like a few months of the broth, I was also researching a lot about intermittent fasting and liquid resets and the benefits of like an all liquid diet, being that when you lower the digestive burden on the body, it's able to focus that extra energy on healing and repair. But I had tried juice cleanses in the past and I really didn't like how high they were in sugar and low they were in calories. So I never was able to get through the program successfully. And then by the end of it, ended up like right back where I started or worse, because I'd be like eating way more after feeling deprived. So I wanted to create a program that felt really nourishing, fun, vibrant, tasty, and just like the anti other cleanse.
Yeah, anti-cleanse, just more like repair.
Plan. Yeah, which is why we ended up calling it a reset. I tested out the program myself for 12 days. After doing that, I tried it a few other times and really worked on like the list of approved food lists, because in sharing it, I wanted to make sure I was able to go through the whole thing and feel nourished and feel better by the end of it. And then on top of that, like I didn't want to attract people with disordered eating. So it was really important to me that the program was focused around like intuitive eating and like listening to our body's cues to eat when we're hungry, drink when we're thirsty, sleep when we're tired. Um, so yeah, the program like really has evolved a little bit from where it started, because now we connect you with a certified health coach, so everybody has like support along with the program. We have like the list of approved foods, a ton of recipes and free resources. Part of my health journey, felt like so isolating. I felt so alone. Like my family didn't understand, a lot of my friends didn't understand. So it's been really cool to see the program evolve to be able to offer people that kind of support. And we see that really help people like follow through with the program and then find more long lasting results.
I love that because at the time, doing this 9 years ago, it was just so cutting edge and new, and I'm sure there's a lot of education that needed to be. I mean, it's great you had your approved food list and all that for the reset, but still just a lot of education going into sharing about bone broth in general and why. And this is people who are on juice cleanses that want the sugar high in a way from the juice cleanse. Not that every juice cleanse is like that, but yeah, it's really interesting to.
Used to eating like sugary things, processed things. So there's still people that, are caught off guard by the taste of our shakes because they don't have added sugar. And you're right, like so much education involved, especially in the beginning, but still now because we ship nationwide. And I think like here in Southern California, we're in like a little bubble of wellness where there's so many educated consumers, but there's still a large majority of customers and people that are not. And we joke that we've like redone our instructions like 5 million times to try to really make it very clear to people. But yeah, it's like always an evolution.
So right now, is your main business direct to consumer
Yeah.
or shipping it? Figuring out how to ship glass and keeping it cold like across the country is such a big deal.
Well, our broth is shelf stable.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. So that helped massively. But yeah, the shipping process has gone through a lot of evolutions. Like in the middle of COVID, there was a glass crisis. So that like changed our packaging. We just recently went through another packaging change. So
What
it's
is it
always
now?
evolving. Well, we basically started shipping our powdered shakes in the glass jars, so people would
Oh,
have the jar to make everything. And then when we ran into the glass crisis in 2020, we ended up switching them into like compostable bags.
oh, that's awesome. That's what we did because it's like when things shatter, you're like, this isn't that eco-friendly in a way. I mean, it is. It's all has its own things, but it's so much easier to ship in compostable bags. How's that going?
Well, we did our own like self pouring individual every single bag that went out for years and years until just this past year we moved to a co-manufacturer. So we have like nice looking tear packs that are a little more uh, friendly for our
Yeah.
customers. So that's been a good change. But yeah, it's just like always evolving. We just changed our jars recently from like a 2-piece lid to a 1-piece lid, but at every like change there's always, you can't please everybody, and as you know, it's just like listening to our customers and getting feedback and making changes and continuing to grow and evolve and keep up with everything.
It's a lot. Where are you
Yeah,
guys making it?
we have a kitchen in downtown LA where we make all of our broth, and then we have a new pickup window and kitchen where we make our shakes in Venice up the street from our shop.
Really? So
Yeah.
people can come visit and just get it on the go?
Yep. We have
Oh my
hot
God.
broth by the cup now, and all of our shakes. We have like 16-ounce servings available now to go. And we also are doing hot matcha lattes with hemp milk.
Wow. Is that, but that's not out of the store on Abbot Kinney, or is it
No,
somewhere else? So is the store your office or is it open?
the store is still open. We're kind of like in a transition phase of like figuring out what the experience here at the shop is going to look like now that we've moved all of our pickups up the street and people are picking up their resets at our new pickup window, which is like catty corner to Bluey's on like Venice Boulevard and Beethoven.
Okay, cool. And that's where people can go and not just pick up, but also order.
Yep.
That's such a great addition. What's that been like? Having a staff to do all that? Like, is it the same staff?
Yes, we relocated 2 of our team members here from our kitchen in downtown when we opened that location. And it's been a long process because when we first moved into this space, there was a lot of permitting issues. It took us a while to get it permitted. And then because of the cost and time that it took on that, we ended up just using the space as a production facility for a while before we moved the pickups there because we needed to get our staff properly trained on that before we could bring customers in. We had hired 2 Ukrainian refugees to work at our kitchen, and they're the team members that are at our pickup window now. So they've been like learning English and
Uh-huh.
learning about all of our products. So it's been, yeah, a process.
Well, like, who does all the ops? Do you do all the ops?
We have like a plant manager that manages our 2 kitchens, and then we have our retail operations manager that works at our store on Abbot Kinney, and myself, the 3 of us kind of like work
Over.
together
Yeah.
on operations, and we
But
meet like
no,
once a week.
that's a
Yeah.
lot to manage still, like on your end and doing all the other things. It's so much. What does your self care look like? Like your
I,
personal self
my
care?
I try to take a walk every day. If I don't have like a break, I'll take a call on the go and get a walk in. I have two toddlers now, so
You do? Oh my gosh. How
I have
old?
a 2 and a 3-year-old boy. Well, my youngest turns 2 on Thursday. So it's busy at home. I don't have much of a morning routine anymore aside from wake up and go.
Yeah.
And my time is nighttime. Like they have a pretty early bedtime, and that's when I get to like wind down, take a bath, breathe, have some
It's
quiet time, go through my skincare routine.
It's so crazy. Once you have kids, you're like, wow, I had it so easy before. Not that I mean, it's harder for sure. Obviously, I mean, your life is more full and it's so beautiful in a different way. But the time for you is like zero when you're also trying to run a company and manage other people and be a present mom. So I love that you have an early bedtime. And that's something that I wish that I had incorporated early on because my almost 6 year old, he's like turning 6 next week. He can literally go like all day, like 12 hours. Like he just does not stop. And then you try and do like quiet time and stuff like that. Whereas my daughter, I think she'll always like nap, or I could get her to just like wind down way easier. And, like she'll go to bed way more easily. And I'm not nursing her. And like I just thought every kid was like that.
How old's your daughter?
She just turned 3, but I nursed her until she was like 2.5. And it's like I'm so glad because I'm like it was a lot, but I mean I loved it too, and I'm not planning on having another kid, so I can't believe I'm done. But at the same time, I'm like mental health wise and just self care and like being able to do these things for yourself. It's so important. Like, and taking the time. And that's what's so nice about what you're offering because it's like just a way to be honestly, it's like easier in a way to do a reset sometimes for a parent, right? Because you're like, I don't have to think about even though the mental aspects of it being present and
I
stuff.
honestly think that's like the best part because truly, if we eat when we're hungry, we drink when we're thirsty, and we sleep when we're tired, our body works perfectly. The problem is that we're getting a lot of outside messages about when to eat and what not to eat. And we're busy and we're keeping up with like moving faster than we're intended to move and balancing and juggling more than we've ever held before. And we get really far away from like listening to those reminders from our body about like what to do to keep it working optimally. And I think the reset really just allows you to like not think about it and just get that baseline covered. And then you start to realize, oh, like I'm not actually hungry, or oh, maybe I don't actually need that chocolate bar. Like, where am I actually just like looking for sweetness or like a little energy boost at that time of day? And like, what's another way that I could maybe give myself that instead of just like using food or sugar to like quickly give me that. So it just like is a good practice in tuning in and listening because ultimately there's no doctor, no healer, no TikToker that can tell you what your body needs to feel good. It's all like an inside job. So I think really beyond like what you're actually consuming in the reset, it's more just that like sacred pause and opportunity to tune in.
How do you share that with your customers? Like, I'm curious, how do you communicate that with your customers? Because sometimes people are really just looking to lose weight really quick or whatever, and that's fine too. People come into this sort of healing journey, and what you're offering is medicine, literally. So for the body, so like people come and find themselves in this from different needs and wants, and then it can turn into a completely different experience of giving them more space to think
Yeah.
better and feel better. So obviously not shaming in that sense, but how do you communicate that to your customers? Like, this is awesome and this is going to make you feel really great. And I'm just also curious because like I have a similar, I mean, I don't have a similar product, but I have a similar mission, right? Make people feel
Mhm.
better, take some time. And like, yes, saffron's really great for anxiety and depression and all the things, and it's clinically backed and all the things, but and it can help you if you work with your doctor. But like at the end of the day, if you have stuff going on in your life that's causing this, like we need to get to the root cause. So how do
Yeah.
you communicate with your customers to encourage them to witness basically what it is?
Yeah, I think we're always asking that question. How do we communicate this? How do we get this across to people? Because there are those people that like definitely come and they just want to lose weight. But it's ultimately all mindset. And when we are depriving the body, we are spiking our cortisol levels, and the body is like, are you going to feed me? Are you going to give me what I need? I'm not sure. So let me hold on to everything I have just in case. And that's when like we hold on to inflammation and we're not able to lose weight, because that restrictive mindset that we think will keep us thin is actually just doing the opposite. So for us, like incorporating the coaches into the journey and into the reset was hugely important, so that we could have another touch point of education and helping to guide our customers to that like mindset shift. But every person is at a different point in their journey, and we also just try to meet people where they're at and encourage people to get clear on their goals, and from there like decide how best to go through the reset, whether they want to incorporate foods or not, or exercise, or continue to drink coffee or alcohol. We got a lot of questions with people asking us, can I do this, can I do that? And we really try to stay away from telling people what to do and really just like letting them decide for themselves, because ultimately like that's where
Practice.
we're trying to lead people, is to like answer those questions for themselves. And some people just really want to be told what to do, so we
Yeah.
try to toe that line of like, well, but it's, yeah, we're always evolving in the way that we're speaking to our customer, the way that we're creating content, the resources that we're putting out on our blog and on social. Like they're all guided by like our customer questions, issues that they're facing, and our own like philosophies and beliefs about health that we're trying to like communicate and share with people.
I love that. That's beautiful. And how does I'm like my business mind is like it's so great that you incorporate these health coaches and experts. So how do you do that?
With every reset, you get a 15-minute coaching session with one of our coaches. So, our coaches manage all of our customer service directly. So, any questions that come up from shipping to like uh, whatever, like more health related concerns, like they'll help everybody with that. And everybody that does a reset has the opportunity to schedule their 15-minute call. We also have like hour-long sessions and packages available for people that want more long-term coaching. But we also like make a big effort to outreach to every new customer and encourage them to do the coaching session, because not everybody takes advantage of that. But it is like really powerful when people set aside the time and get to do that.
Is that people that are on your team or is that kind of like outsourced people?
They're all people on our team. They work out of our Abbott Kinney store. Yeah.
Wow. That's so nice. So it's all in-house and they're like super educated on the product and the brand and everything. That's so nice. These
Yeah.
are like, the reason I'm asking. I mean, I'm asking because I'm curious, not that like outsourcing it would be a bad thing, but it's just running a business and knowing like how incredible it is that you've made an effort to offer that to your customers. I'm just like so impressed. So
Yeah, I just
impressed.
remind people, because like that is part of the cost, that the higher price point for our
Yeah.
reset. Like we're not outsourcing our customer service to India or like an AI app. Like every single customer has an expert health coach like that really cares about them answering their questions and guiding them towards hopefully long lasting change. And that was really important to me to be more than just a product. Like we really are also like a very much a service based business, in my opinion.
Yeah, you really are. And it's a lot to manage and juggle, but it's also, I mean, it definitely sets you apart than just being a product that someone's just buying off the shelf. Like they're getting so many resources through you and truly a way to shift their mindset and their lifestyle to actually, whether they did just one cleanse or they do it with you multiple times a year, like they are able to take something that stays with them forever. That's such a great way of doing business, in my opinion. I love it so much. And I you can just tell by talking to you how passionate you are about it and how it's not just a business, like it's your life. And I'm curious with your kids, what are they into bone broth? Like what's the feeding situation with them?
Well, my kids both have their own individual food sensitivities that are wildly different, which has been fun to discover because they both had like eczema. So my youngest is allergic to eggs and potentially nuts, and my oldest has is sensitive to corn, and both of them get like skin reactions from both of those things. So that was
Wow.
like an interesting journey for us, like going through elimination diets and all of that with like two little kids, which
Yeah.
wasn't fun. But I also was like just talking to their dad about that. Really like grateful for my knowledge and insight there because I know other kids that have like dealt with skin issues and that sort of thing for years and years. So nice that we like got to the bottom of it and they're both cool now. But they like the broth. I cook their rice with the broth and they love
Oh,
it
yeah.
like that.
That's
It
what I
really
like to do.
the tea. But they'll eat it if I like cook it in their food. So I find ways to sneak it in for them.
Yeah, I like to make the like rice and all the foods, like just add the broth in that way. I even do that for myself because I used to be a vegan and I'm like, ugh, I wish I could have more. I mean, broth is one thing that I can do, but I want to have like in my culture, people eat organ meats and that's just like standard, and I can't stand it, but I want to eat it. But I'm like, I know it's good for me and I need to incorporate it, but I just supplement with it. In
Yeah.
terms of like, I really just started making like this drink in the mornings with Heart and Soils supplements. Like, but you have to take so much of it to get an actual good amount. So I have like 18 capsules. So I just like pour it out into a drink and it's so gross, but I eat that because I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can do broth. I can do this like drink, but I can't get myself to eat it like the way it's really meant to be. But one day I'll get there. But
I've
so,
been thinking of starting to make my coffee with broth instead of water because
oh
I feel like
yeah,
you couldn't taste the difference. But I'm like lately with kids not as good about having a solid
yeah,
breakfast.
yes. Wait, that's
I'm
so
like
smart.
they're
Coffee
like
with banana.
apple scraps and whatever in the
Yeah.
morning. So I feel like that for me, I've been thinking about doing that. I gotta try it.
Oh my gosh, tell me how it goes. My husband would love that. I don't drink coffee, but I should try it.
I am allergic to caffeinated tea ever since I had my second child, weirdly. So now I'm like, God just wants me to drink coffee.
That's so interesting that that doesn't affect you, but a caffeinated tea does.
It's like not the caffeine, it's something in the tea compound. I don't know what, but
Wow.
that's how I found out I was pregnant with my second. I started throwing up when I had green tea, and I thought it was just like pregnancy, and then it's never gone away.
Wow. The body is so interesting.
Weird.
Like going back to just having your broth on hand for people, it does not need to be the reset, right? It's like get the
Yeah.
broth, use use it for your cooking. Or like, for example, I don't know if you've ever had it, but I get the San Diego tempeh. They have it at Air One. It's not like at the hot bar. It's something you make at home, and it's made with mung beans and like not soy, but it's
No,
a mung bean tempeh that's really yummy. But like heating it up with broth and butter and like making it that way, kind of incorporating different ways to cook with it for.
yeah, like a congee is such a great way. Like just rice,
Yeah.
chicken, butter, ginger. That's like a staple that I like to have around. Yeah, and just making any kind of grain with it. Sometimes I'll like freeze leftover, and then you can heat up leftovers just like throwing an ice cube in the pan instead of cooking with oil. There's a lot of ways to like squeeze it in. We even made brownies recently with broth instead of water, like
Ooh,
brownie mixes. You couldn't even taste it. That's what gave me the idea for the coffee.
I need that recipe. Do you have the recipe? I'm gonna make it.
For the brownies,
Yes,
yeah,
that sounds
we
so
use
good.
we use the Stellar Eats brownie mix. Have you heard of them?
Okay. No.
They're like a grain-free baking company.
Oh,
They have,
cool. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna do that. And my kids would love that too. That's so
Yeah.
fun. So what's your
That's
goal with OWL? Like, what's the plan? Just keep sharing.
um, yeah, like continuing to grow and share and help as many people as possible. I think like with there being more people in the space than ever, like continuing to uh, educate our customer on the differences in what they're finding on the shelves, because I think there's a lot of people that don't know that a lot of broths on the shelves and Tetra Paks are made in a laboratory or just like rehydrated, powderized, like essentially processed food. But it says
What?
organic.
Wait, we have to talk about this. No way.
It's like it's surprising how much um, marketing sometimes behind like a health product can really like it's so easy for the customer to get confused when they see an organic label on something and just assume that it's healthy. A lot of them are not being like cooked. Like when we are making broth, we're putting real bones into pots with alkaline water. Oh, sorry. And we're we're simmering them for over 24 hours, and we're adding in real vegetables. And there's just so many broths out there that are basically getting like powdered bone broth powder, and they're like adding,
Rehydrate.
yeah, like I mean, there's a big variety of what you can find. Everything from like what we do at OWL, which is like handcrafted small batches where we're truly simmering it for 24 hours, which is how like what differentiates bone broth from just a stock or a soup, which is essentially just a shorter cook time. Um, but yeah, so there's just like it's more important now than ever, I think, to really know the people behind the brands and like where your food is coming from, not just like your vegetables, like what farm they're coming from at the farmers market, but all of your processed foods. And it's really important to like know how the companies are producing and sourcing for their products, because there's a huge variety and it can be really difficult um, to to know based on like what people are putting on their labels and their packaging. I'm sure by now everybody knows that natural flavors are not natural, like stuff like that. Like the food industry does like a good job of trying to hide the reality from customers, what they're finding on the shelves.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. But that's why it's so important to educate and to say, this is the difference, and here's why we're committed to continuing to make it this way. And, if you're in a bind, like and like not to buy actual broth that's made with a powder. Like it's like then just get the real thing. Like if you're in a bind and you're camping and you're like, okay, I need broth powder, that's a different story. But it's like people not knowing the difference. It's so crazy. I feel like that needs to be
Like,
on the
or that people are buying broth and making good choices. Like I think something's always better than nothing.
yes,
And
it's
we're not
so true.
opposed to creating a more accessible product at a more accessible price point at OWL. It's something that we've talked about internally. Like, how do we do that? Because what we're doing is like so premium that we can't cut corners, but we also know that because of the price point, we can't help as many people as we'd like to. So we've had discussions on how do we develop more products to reach more people and help more people, because something's always better than nothing. But for now, we just try to educate people and empower them to make good choices, and also like make things on their own. Like we have resources on our blog with how to make your own broth at home, and if you can't afford OWL, or if there's
Yeah.
like opportunities to create and make things yourself on a budget. And that's something we try to have awareness about and support people in finding their own way to uh, enhance their life with more wellness. And those things can be free. And we try to talk about those things on our blog too, like breathing, journaling. These are all things that we can do for $0 that really do have like a big impact on our mental health and our overall well-being.
Yeah. Okay, the house and habit connection is so funny because I forgot about it until you brought it up. And okay, so and then I was like, okay, yeah, we have that. Um I forget, she uses your product and I've seen it at her house and I've seen her post about it. But then I didn't even think about the fact that the owl thing.
I know. Yeah, she's
Is
like
that
obsessed with owls. And
is that how it all happened? Was because of the name?
no, I don't think that's how it happened. I just was like a big fan of what she was doing, and I reached out to our social team after she posted something about the owl like messages she was getting. I was like, why don't you see if she wants to try a reset? And she was open to it, so that was really cool.
That's so funny. And it's funny because before I met her, I was obsessed with buying these owl mugs. And like I buy these mugs that have this owl painted on them and they're all different. And there's this like really cute store in Laguna that sells them from this artist in Washington. And so I started collecting these mugs. And then I met her and we became friends, and that's like some of her merch has like because I got her the owl mugs at one point, and then I got the guy to like make some like designs for her too, which some of them are on her merch. But it's
I
just
have to
so oh my gosh, I have to get you owl mugs like to have your bone broth in. I have my
right.
saffron lattes in it all the time. So I'll send you some. You text me your address. I can't wait for you to see it. You're gonna
Amazing.
love it.
I'll send you some broth for your mug.
Okay, good. I'm so excited. Okay, that is just so funny how the owl thing, I love owls. And I mean, what happened that you named it Owl Venice or
Um,
Owl?
I what my best friend growing up my whole life has been my grandmother, and she passed away this
Oh,
February. But yeah, it was really like an homage to her, and that like going back to the way grandmother does things, and that like grandmotherly love, like chicken noodle soup that feels so like comforting. And that was like really the feeling of the brand that I wanted to come across. And we I basically was like, I want to name it Owl, but that's like doesn't have any connection to the broth. And my
wow.
friend was like, why don't you make it like an acronym? So I was like, oh, like one whole life. And it just,
Oh my gosh. That makes sense. And what's it called? Your grandmother, when did she pass? February. My grandmother passed in February too.
oh, February 2nd.
Oh, okay. Mine was like 26, I believe. But that's so beautiful. I love all of it. And I love that your grandmother was your best friend. Like, ugh, sad.
Okay. Yeah. We'll get coffee soon and give each other a hug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grandparents are the best.
Yeah.
um, that's honestly, I feel like I share this a lot, but like I feel like my grandparents passing is like my superpower in like the weirdest way. Like I'm really connected. My sister and I are like so connected with our grandparents, and I feel like everything good that happens, I'm always like, oh, it's because of them. Like it's so interesting.
We're angels.
Like and you just have this like different relationship, and not just grandparents, right? Like for me it's just been my grandparents, but anyone that passes that you're close to. And I love that the that was kind of like the spirit in which you were like thinking of naming your brand, because it's so true, like the old ancient way of doing things. It's always literally this morning I was actually, it's so funny, I'm like I'm crying a lot today. This morning I was crying. I have a homeschool teacher that's I hired for this coming school year, and she's also helping us this summer, and she's with both my kids. And I was like, my almost 6-year-old like has been talking about guns, and not like he's been coming home and like shooting guns with his like fake like wood stick that he decided is a gun or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and I'm someone who's been like so anti-guns, and then now I'm like I understand their place in our world. Like I have such a different view. I feel like I've gone both extremes in a way, and I feel like I understand why we need them, and but I don't like them, and I don't want my children to be talking about them. Like just stay innocent. And like I don't like video games. I don't like this stuff. So this morning I was telling the homeschool teacher, I was like, why are these kids at the park? Like, what are they playing video games? Like, what are they doing at home that they're just like coming here and playing, whatever, pretending to shoot things all the time? And I was like crying, and I was like, can you tell them to stop? And she was like, but I was like, I also know that I can't. She's like, I can't tell other kids to stop at the park because they're not in like my classroom, or, it's just other parents' kids. Like, and I'm like, and I don't want to get my kids to just like be like, you can't go to the park anymore because these kids are there, or you can't play with these kids that you really connect with, and just like happens to be a couple minutes out of the day that you guys play pretend, whatever, this game. And my point is, I was like crying because I was like, this world, like I'm on defense like 24/7. And I just wish it was like our grandparents' times when it was just so simple and kids were just like, I don't know, but honestly, who knows? Kids were probably doing that then too. But
Definitely play with
anyways,
then, but yeah, I totally feel that. I took my kids back to the East Coast, and LA is just like it can be tough with kids, and there's a lot of crazy stuff going on everywhere, and like trash and commotion, and I feel that now with kids more than ever. Like I feel like I didn't even notice some of the things that now I'm like, oh my god, like I don't want my
yeah,
kids to see this or be around this. But then I have to just uh, know that all of their experiences are going to like make them stronger
yes.
humans, more resilient, and they will need to be resilient in the world that they're growing up in. And I'm doing the best I can. We're all doing the best we can, and no one's gonna get out without any issues, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, well, my kids' issues is gonna be just like my own stress levels around needing to I need to chill the fuck out about it all, and remember, like my goal is to give them the tools to be able to or communicate, hey, like let's do something different, or let's do this, or this is how I'm feeling, or how to process when you see a homeless person down the street having their own mental break and you're witnessing it and you can't shield them from it or whatever. And it's part of
Yeah.
life. And like, and they're going to see it. So it's like, how do we process it? Because that's like everything.
Yeah, like we help people by just leading by example. I try to remind
Yeah.
myself that in my life and with my kids, like when I'm inclined to try to give my energy to somebody else or feel stressed about somebody else's situation, like knowing that like the best way I can help is to continue to just take care of myself in the best way possible. And that's the best way I'm going to help my kids too, is by setting that example and making sure that I'm feeling like filled up and happy and peaceful, and letting them see how I do that and try to emulate it in their own way.
Yeah. And getting a reset in to help you
Yeah.
do that. Well, it was so beautiful chatting and crying and laughing. And I love having you on and definitely hope to connect again soon. I'm sure we'll do more stuff together just as brands and moms
Yeah.
and all the things.
Meet real life and chat more and learn more about what you're doing with the fullest too. Like a lot has changed since the last time we met, but I tried one of your lattes and it's so good. Yeah.
So, yeah, we'd love to send some out to OWL customers too. So we'll have to figure something out that's fun. Um,
Yeah.
I think it'd be really fun. And yeah, there's a lot, I'm thinking of putting on like a business conference. I just like love talking to other founders about business and then like sharing that with our audience because we tend to have like a lot of entrepreneurs on and I love having entrepreneur moms on and inspiring other people that are listening to start their own thing. And not that it's easy, it's very time consuming and exhausting and all the things, but also really fun. And with that, I'm like putting a few panels together. So we'll have to chat about that too.
Yeah,
It'll
that
be
would
fun.
be awesome. Always great to
So
find
how
other entrepreneurs.
yeah, how can people find you? Like just give everyone the rundown.
All right. Yeah, we are online at owlvenice.com. We're also on social, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at Owl Venice. And then if you're in LA, we're at 12906 Venice Boulevard. We have a pickup window where you can come get a hot cup of broth or pick up a reset. And then all of our coaches are working out of our HQ on Abbot Kinney at 1613 Abbot Kinney.
Awesome. Thank you, Lindsay, and
Oh,
have
thank
a
you, Nikki.
wonderful summer. We'll
You
connect
too.
soon.
Awesome. Thank
Okay.
you. Bye.
Bye.